There are plenty of hazardous places on our planet: sheer cliffs, hostile deserts, frozen peaks, but caves are often near the top of the list. Narrow passages can squeeze the breath from you. Underground rivers can swallow the unprepared, and darkness hides dangers few can imagine. But the cave we're talking about today is unlike any of those. It's not full of suffocating crawl spaces or hidden underwater tunnels. In fact, it might be the single most dangerous cave in existence. Yet at first glance, it doesn't look deadly at all. 5 years ago, the world experienced an event that changed life everywhere. Airports fell silent, cities dimmed, family gatherings stopped, trips were canceled, and countless lives were lost. For those who became sick or who watched loved ones fade, the grief was immeasurable. But while the pandemic was front and center, experts were quietly voicing another fear: that what we had just endured might not be the last. Major outbreaks don't appear from thin air. They often begin in the shadows where people and wildlife intersect under unlucky circumstances, in jungles, open-air markets, and yes, in caves. Disease can be born from blood, saliva, and even dust. And one of the most alarming potential sources for another global crisis isn't a crowded metropolis or secretive laboratory, but a cavern in East Africa on the slopes of an ancient volcano in the lush highlands. Its name is Kaidam Cave, and some call it the most dangerous place on the planet. If you followed stories about cave disasters before, you might expect this one to involve people trapped, flooding, or a daring rescue. But this tale is different. Kaidam Cave holds a danger that could, in theory, reach any of us, even those who never set foot inside. The entrance hides behind a thin curtain of water spilling down from Mount Elgon. Unlike most caves formed by erosion, Kaidam was carved out by animals, specifically elephants. For countless years, perhaps thousands, herds have ventured into its darkness in search of salt. Night after night, they move in single file, shuffling through the pitch-black tunnels. Inside, they transform from graceful savanna giants into awkward miners, bumping into the low ceilings and scraping walls with their tusks. They break away chunks of mineral-rich rock, sometimes swallowing them whole. Over generations, this has reshaped the cave's interior. Smooth surfaces have been replaced by walls etched and gouged by countless tusks. Kaidam Cave is the largest of 5 elephant caves on Mount Elgon, big enough to hold an entire herd at once. And it's not only elephants that come here. Buffalo, antelope, bushbuck, hyenas, and even leopards visit to feed on the same mineral bounty. The mountain itself is an extinct shield volcano, its rocks infused with salts like sodium, calcium, and magnesium. In this region, where the vegetation is rich but often lacking key nutrients, these minerals are vital, especially for pregnant elephants, who return repeatedly, passing this knowledge down to their calves. It sounds almost magical, a place where generations of animals gather in a secret cathedral of stone. But there's more to Kaidam Cave than its animal visitors. Its walls and ceiling are alive with bats, mostly Egyptian fruit bats, alongside smaller insect-eating species deeper in. They hang so densely that the rock itself seems coated in fur and wings. The deeper you go, the louder their chittering becomes, echoing like radio static. The cave floor tells another story, slick with layers of guano. Near the entrance, it's greenish from fruit bats. Deeper in, it turns black, piled thick in crevices and along the walls. The sharp, acrid odor clings to everything. For the animals, it's just part of the journey. For humans, though, what's in that guano is far more dangerous than any slippery rock. Because within it, viruses live. Somewhere in this environment, a lethal microscopic predator hides, one that has claimed lives in ways few could imagine. That's why scientists, not just adventurers, have entered Kaidam Cave to try to understand and stop whatever is lurking inside. In 1980, a French engineer named Charles Monel walked into Kaidam Cave. We don't know exactly what he did. Perhaps he admired the walls, paused to watch the bats, or simply breathed in the air without knowing what floated in it. 7 days later, Charles became violently ill. It began with headache, fatigue, and muscle pain, then escalated to fever, vomiting, and bleeding. His condition deteriorated with terrifying speed. Rushed to a Nairobi hospital, doctors fought to stabilize him. When he finally collapsed, Dr. Shim Musok attempted resuscitation. In that moment, Charles vomited, releasing a fine mist of infected fluid that the doctor inhaled. Charles died soon after, his organs failing, his body ravaged from the inside out. One account claimed his face appeared to sag, as though melting. Dr. Musok soon fell ill with the same symptoms, but survived. From his blood, doctors isolated something new, a virus related to Ebola, but distinct. They named it Marburg virus, after a 1967 outbreak in Germany linked to imported African monkeys. This strain, however, was even deadlier. In 1987, a young Danish boy named Rav visited Kaitum Cave while on vacation. 3 days later, he became sick, and after nearly 2 weeks of intensive care, he too died. His infection was similar to Charles's, but genetically unique enough to be called Rav virus, after him. 2 deaths, years apart, both traced to the same cave. That was enough to raise alarms worldwide. The U.S. Army Medical Research Institute of Infectious Diseases took interest. If a virus in this cave could kill so fast and jump between species, it was not just a public health threat. It was a potential bioweapon. In the late 1980s, a fully suited, respirator-wearing team entered Kaitum to capture bats, rodents, insects, and birds, swabbing surfaces and collecting samples. But they found nothing conclusive. The virus seemed to have vanished, or was hiding too well. Nearly 20 years later, in 2007, miners in Uganda and Gabon fell ill with similar symptoms. Investigations led to gold and iron mines infested with Egyptian fruit bats, the same kind found in Kaitum. This time, scientists isolated live Marburg virus within the bats. They returned to Kaitum with better equipment and tested its bats, and there it was. The virus wasn't airborne like the flu, but guano dust could carry it into the lungs. Victims didn't need to be bitten, just in the wrong place at the wrong moment. Marburg virus belongs to the same family as Ebola, the filoviruses, some of the deadliest pathogens known. According to the WHO, it can kill up to 88% of its victims. Symptoms start like a normal illness: fever, chills, headache, but quickly escalate. The virus attacks the gastrointestinal system, causing severe diarrhea and vomiting, then shreds the vascular system, leading to internal and external bleeding. Patients' faces take on a hollow, ghostly look as shock sets in. It spreads only through direct contact with infected fluids, but in the right conditions, such as in an undiagnosed patient in a crowded city, the results could be catastrophic. And there's no cure, only supportive treatment, which doesn't guarantee survival. In 2021, even as the pandemic was ongoing, the WHO warned that Marburg still had the potential to cause an epidemic. All it would take is one wrong encounter. Yet, Kaitum Cave remains open to visitors. Tourists hike Mount Elgon's trails, unaware that the rocks they admire might harbor a virus capable of dissolving a human from within. And while Kaitum is a biological threat, there's another deadly location, one born of water, not rock. Tucked in the peaceful hills of North Yorkshire, England, there's a river that seems gentle at first glance. The River Wharfe winds lazily through fields of wildflowers and over stones polished smooth by centuries of flowing water. It's the kind of place that feels timeless, where the air seems softer and the pace of life slower. The river's name comes from the Old Norse word werf, meaning bend or turn, and true to that name, the wharf twists and curves through the countryside for 65 miles, passing ruined abbeys, arched stone bridges, and quaint villages that look as if they've stepped out of an old storybook. But along one short stretch, the river changes completely. Just upstream from the ruins of Bolton Abbey, it narrows abruptly, so much so that it barely resembles a river anymore. This spot is known as the Bolton Strid, the Strid for short, and it has earned one of the deadliest reputations of any waterway on Earth. From the bank, the Strid seems harmless. In some places, it's only about 6 feet wide, tempting some to try jumping from one side to the other. But this is where appearances can be fatally deceptive. Step closer, and you'll hear it, a low, unsettling rumble beneath the surface. What looks like a playful stream is, in reality, a vertical chasm of raging water. The danger lies in how the wharf changes shape. Upstream, the river is around 90 feet wide, but at the Strid, all that water is forced into a gap a fraction of the width. The current doesn't slow, it accelerates, funneling into a twisting labyrinth of submerged tunnels and crevices carved deep into the rock over millennia. No one truly knows the full depth or complexity of these underwater passages. They are jagged, unpredictable, and impossible to map safely, because no diver who enters could survive. The immense hydraulic pressure drags anything caught in it down into the rock itself, slamming it against unseen ledges. The banks, slick with moss, overhang the water in places, hiding deep undercuts. If you fall in, you can be pulled under instantly, vanishing into the cold darkness before you even realize what's happened. Estimates suggest the Strid may be at least 200 feet deep in places, perhaps more. Combined with the force of the current, it's why locals say the Strid has a near 100% fatality rate. Once you're in, there's no way out. Over the centuries, the Strid has claimed many lives, some remembered, others forgotten. Local legend says its first known victim was William de Romilly, son of Lady Alice de Romilly, who owned the surrounding land in the 12th century. In 1152, young William tried to leap across the narrow gap. His loyal greyhound refused, sensing the danger, but William jumped and never resurfaced. Stricken with grief, Lady Alice donated the land to the monks of Bolton Priory in his memory. The priory's ruins still stand downstream today. More tragedies followed. In 1934, Arthur Reginald Smith, a well-known watercolor artist, drowned here while likely searching for a scenic subject to paint. In August 1998, newlyweds Barry and Lynn Collett were walking near the Strid just 2 days into their honeymoon when sudden flash floods caused the river to rise by 5 feet in under a minute. Police believe the couple was swept away before they even understood the danger. Barry's body was found 2 months later, 10 miles downstream. Lynn's was recovered 6 days after the accident. Even children have been lost to the Strid. In 2010, an 8-year-old boy celebrating his birthday slipped while playing on stones upstream. A passerby managed to grab him, but the current tore him free. His body was found hours later. These stories are only the ones that were recorded. Locals tell of countless others, hikers, children, even animals, who vanished into the Strid without a trace. Sometimes the current releases a body miles downstream. Other times, nothing is ever found. And yet, the Strid remains a popular spot. A maintained walking trail winds through Strid Wood, past picnic areas and informational signs that politely warn visitors to stand well back and beware slippery rocks. The surrounding forest is so calm and inviting that it's easy to forget the killer hidden in plain sight. The water here doesn't look like death, but under its narrow surface lies a deep, crushing, and chaotic world that takes without hesitation and never gives back.